you are the voice of reason. What do you see with this football team?
I think they're in a very precarious spot right now, Jack. I just think they really have to get Matt Castle back in the lineup, and they really have to win the St. Louis game on the road, because I do not think they're going to lose either of those final two games at home. This St. Louis game now becomes even bigger than the San Diego game was this past week. So that's where I am.
Each of us has our own unique background and story of how we became a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
Our reach is far and wide, with fans all over the world cheering on our Kansas City Chiefs.
Everyone donning the red and gold has figuratively signed that mutual agreement and come together for one common purpose.
For 76,000 of us at a time to descend upon Arrowhead, man our stations, let out our loudest battle cry to the tune of 142.2 decibels, and make that stadium rock until our opponents beg for mercy.
We are unrelenting in our pride for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies, Arrowhead allies.
Welcome into Arrowhead Allies, everybody, and it is a very special day because we have a very special guest with us. He's already been on the show, so he's already been initiated as a fellow ally. Legendary Kansas City sportscaster Frank Boal is joining us, and also the voice of reason, as you heard Jack Harry say there.
Yeah, right. And Frank Boal goes, yeah, we got to get Matt Castle back in the lineup. Oh my God. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I know.
That St. Louis game, by the way, in 2010. Yeah, we went to the playoffs and everything. Yeah.
God, that's amazing. I forgot all about that.
Monday night, we saw Aaron Rodgers go down. He tore his Achilles, only 4 plays. They had so much hype. And so I wanted to start off with this, Frank, and ask you, what if this had happened to Kansas City September 5th, 1993, and Joe Montana's on the cart? The Magic didn't make the trip to KC as Joe Montana tears his Achilles in week 1. Dave Craig replaces Joe Cool, but KC fans are hot. What do you think would have been the reaction? Everyone was so hyped up about Joe coming here. What if this had happened to us?
Oh, that would have been tragic. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Joe was God when he came here. Let's face it, he took them AFC Championship game. They get there, they get this. Kimball Andrews dropped the pass going into the end zone just before halftime. They're going to close the gap on the Buffalo Bills. And then all of a sudden, in the second half, Joe gets bounced off the turf. Back then, it was artificial turf. It wasn't grass. And the week had been absolutely bone frigid up in Buffalo, New York. And he just never recovered, came back the next year, got hurt, and that was it for the Chiefs at that point.
No question about it, Frank, but here we are. It is week 1 is in the books. This is sort of a group therapy session for really all NFL fans, unless you're maybe a fan of the Cowboys or the Niners, somebody that really stood out. The Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, 0-1. Kind of a strange start to the season. The Chiefs is more in the rear view now as we played Thursday night, but coming off that loss to Detroit, Chris Jones' deal is now done. Travis Kelce looks more towards being able to play here on Sunday. Is this just going to look completely different here? And how concerning is this receiving core heading into week 2?
I think the receiving core is a huge question mark right now. Let's face it, guys, okay? You probably all played football one time or another. You probably all caught a football at one time or another. Wide receiver, the only thing he's ever done his entire life is catch a football. Okay, don't tell me, well, he missed all of this, he missed all of that. If the ball hits you in the hands, it's pretty easy if you're a wide receiver just to catch the ball, okay? You're wide open most of the time. Ball's hitting you right there. You're still dropping a football. I don't understand it, but it's a huge question mark right now. As far as Travis Kelce is concerned, it's great news. They're moving him along. Remember, that's a pretty bad bone bruise under there. I think they're still going to be cautionary with it. I think he will play this week. How many snaps? I don't know. Same goes for Chris Jones. Okay, we'll see how many snaps Chris Jones. We play 20. We play 25 as he tries to work towards those incentives. The Chiefs don't care if he makes his incentives or not, unless he makes the last two where he is first-team All-Pro and they make the Super Bowl. And the other big incentive at the very end is your Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. They'll be very happy to pay him if that happens. But as far as getting his other incentives as percentage of plays, et cetera, we'll have to see what happens. But it's going to take him a week or two to get back up to speed. He missed all the offseason, all the preseason. So he is, I don't care how much he's been working out. He's pretty far behind.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but being at Arrowhead, it was like the defense was going through a meat grinder at sometimes. Even though, look, overall, I thought the defense played very well. But Frank Boal, did your eyes tell you what my eyes told me, that the defense was missing Chris Jones, especially on that trap play where they got Montgomery in for the game-winning touchdown?
Yeah, any of the running plays, you could really see it up there. They were doing pretty well running the football. I don't know why they didn't run it more. Jared Goff had some time, and that guy, when he gets time, that's a good quarterback. Okay, that's a pretty good football team they played, and they should never lost the game. Okay, don't get me wrong, but that's not a bad team. People really think. I heard somebody in the national media go, they're going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going, I don't see that, but I could see them winning the NFC North. Okay, with Jared Goff and the receiving core and the running backs they have, and that defense is pretty doggone good. So it was a shame they had to lose that game. There are a lot of distractions out there. You know, you had Chris Jones not signed, and he's up there sitting in the stands between drop the gun and take the cannoli. Okay, those two guys, one over here and one over there, and you're wondering, what are you doing? I mean, it was such a bad look. It was such a bad look for him. And everybody, they'll forgive him. He'll make a couple sacks, and they'll start winning some games here, and all will be forgiven, and the only thing everybody will concentrate on is winning. The other thing is this week, you talk about distraction, okay? And I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about this, okay? But Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? Okay, no, wait. Okay, no, wait. Hold it. If I'm Travis Kelce, I quit playing football immediately, okay, and I go get on her on her roadies crew, okay, and I just stay right next to that, okay? I ain't playing football no more. I'm done.
You know, Frank, I was at the game as well, and it was almost tear-dropping watching. It was a beautiful moment watching them drop that banner. I purposely did not go back and watch the game on DVR like I normally do, because I wanted to remember that game just for the amazing intro. You know, being a Chiefs fan for such a long time, you always want to be there for that moment. And we couldn't be there 3 years ago. But specifically to Chris Jones, you know, he's now signed an incentive 1-year base contract. We'll go back to the last Kansas City Chiefs player to hold out for one game and then come back in week 2 was cornerback Albert Lewis. In 1990, he sat in the suite with Carl Peterson and missed the opening game against the Vikings. But Albert Lewis came back in week 2, week 3, and week 4 and blocked a punt in 3 straight games. You know, when we look at incentives in this specific contract to Chris Jones, I don't think he's going to block a punt in 3 straight games. What do you think he has to do from jump that is similar to what Albert Lewis did in 1990?
Well, he's going to have to get to the quarterback, okay? And he's going to have to his incentives are for 10.5 or 15 and for 15 sacks, okay? 10 and 15, either 10.5 or 10, whatever it is. But it's 10 and 15 are the two big numbers out there. So he's going to want to get after the quarterback. Great opportunity this week, except he's missed so much time. He's not going to be in against Trevor Lawrence that much. And this team gave the Chiefs all they could handle in the playoffs. Okay, Chiefs won the game. I know that, but this team, Jacksonville, it gave the Chiefs all they wanted. And the Chiefs, historically, have never played great in the state of Florida. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I've been at those games. Okay, I've been there, and it's just, you just look and you just go, what? are they doing down here? Are they going to South Beach before the game? Or what is going on with this football team? But they historically do not play well in the state of Florida. Now, that's neither here nor there. They should beat Jacksonville. They should go on a pretty good roll here if Chris Jones keeps coming back and playing more and more. Travis Kelce comes back, plays more and more. And if the wide receiving core gets their act together out there, because to me, that was the biggest disappointment. Everybody thought, well, they'll be fine because we got 15. Well, we got 15 and they weren't fine. Okay, I don't know what Sky Moore was doing. Okay, I have no idea. You look at the 22 and you go, what? Sky, what is that pattern? Where are you going? You're running out for a hot dog at halftime? Where are you going, man? And Kadarius Toney was just a disaster.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the guys were just running. They were running into each other, so I think it was just a bad situation. But we talked about Chris Jones, the receivers, the defense. We got to talk about the coaching, because is Andy ever going to figure out what is
third and fourth are in short, right?
He's such a genius offensively, but can't figure this out, man.
Everybody has their Achilles heel, and that is it's the dumbest thing ever. Okay, I know you don't want to sneak Mahomes because he got his kneecap twisted around to the other half of his to behind his knee. Okay, I understand that. You don't want to run the $500 million quarterback. I got it. Okay, but you could put Blaine Gabbert in there, put 2 tight ends behind him, just like Philadelphia did last year. You remember the Super Bowl, and everybody gets behind him. You're 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 and 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. You just get behind Blaine Gabbert and shove them forward because they have not outlawed the push, and that's what you do. Or you get Blake Bell in there and then put a couple big guys behind him and shove him forward if you don't want to hurt your quarterback. There's no excuse. That switching positions and making guys all the time, you're practicing this trash? I mean, it's taken time away from practice, and it just here. You get behind a center. We got great center and 2 great guards, and we're going right behind those guys. We get 2 guys behind you, and we're just going forward with it. I mean, quit. I almost said it. Quit dinking around. Quit dicking around. Get the ball in the end zone.
There you go. Let it loose.
Love it, Frank. And I got to go back to this receiver thing, because in the offseason, we heard a report from James Palmer, who's kind of tied in with the Chiefs and their front office. And I think we're being sold a bill of goods here that Kadarius Toney, we believe in him being our wide receiver number 1. And that got them kind of off the hook of, man, we got to go out and get a DeAndre Hopkins. We don't want to really put all our eggs in that basket. We don't have the money. We're still trying to figure this out with Chris Jones. And we let go of Tyreek Hill. We don't have that number 1. We see Juju now in New England. We passed on DK Metcalf in the draft for McCole Hardman. We passed on George Pickens for Sky Moore. We see what they're doing. So has this kind of been a mess, or will this get figured out now that Travis Kelce is hopefully coming back at the receiver for the receivers?
Well, he's going to help, and then being back there again one more time with trying to work this thing out, just because Tony has missed all preseason, but they've got to get it squared away somehow. But they could use. They do not have a wide receiver 1. I'm not even sure they have a wide receiver 2 at the moment. Okay, so. We know they don't have a wide receiver 1. And the other thing where they really screwed this up, okay, if they would have known this was going to happen with Chris Jones before the season, and he never indicated that he was going to hold out and this was going to happen. If they had known this was going to happen, they would have traded Chris Jones and opened up the cap space and gone after somebody like DeAndre Hopkins. They would have had money for somebody like DeAndre Hopkins. They would have a wide receiver number 1. And what does this team rely on? What's the NFL rely on? They rely on their quarterback, and they rely on their offense to score touchdowns. So they could have gotten rid of Chris Jones. They probably could have gotten a pretty good bundle for him. It wouldn't have been as much as they got for Tyreek Hill, of course, because Jones is older and he plays obviously a different position. But he's one of the top 10 players in the NFL. And they could have gotten a lot for him if they had traded him during the offseason.
Well, Frank, at the heart of you covering the Chiefs in the 90s, Marty Schottenheimer's here. I mean, the news stations are having helicopters try to fly over, try to see, get the info on Marcus Allen or Joe Montana, and everything like that was so tight-lipped. The organization was so, was so under wraps at times. But times have changed, Frank. Here, this team, all offseason, we saw Kadarius Toney on social media, and it was, you suck, Giants. I got this ring. Now what? And we have ring ceremonies. We have Saturday Night Live appearances. We have it all. Is there a hunger? How hard is it to keep that hunger?
Hey, here's the deal. Number one, Kadarius, get off social media. Okay, just leave it alone. Just leave. I know. Just let it go. Okay, but there's definitely a hangover from the Super Bowl. That's why it's so hard to win them back to back. Okay, last back to back was New England, right? And I remember they dropped the banner. New England that just won number 6 with Tom Brady. Chiefs were up there on opening night. Okay, all the hoop was going blue, and the Chiefs kicked the crap out of New England. They just destroyed them that night. Okay, so there is definitely distractions when you have to go through this. And then add on top of the ceremony and everybody's saying, oh, we're going to forget about this. This is in the rearview mirror. Even Travis Kelce, yeah, forget about it. We forgot about this, and we're moving forward. But you've got the banner dropping. You got Chris Jones sitting up in the stands. You got Travis Kelce standing on the sideline. That's some distractions for the guys that are out there playing. There's no doubt that we've got 2 of the top 10 football players in the NFL not playing tonight for our team, and that is never a good look.
Man, I just want to say that, look, man, there's no reason to panic. These losses happen every year for the Chiefs. They literally do. Last year for the Colts, you think about the Texans game last year. At Houston, the Chiefs almost lose to the Texans, seriously, in overtime. And it just so happens that it wasn't the extra umph this time. The Chris Jones, the Travis Kelce, it speaks to how close, number one, the NFL is. And Detroit's not a bad team, everybody. They're not. But the margin of error, though, in the NFL, it's very small. And the distance from teams being great and good, it's closer than what people think. Like, the Chiefs were not exceptionally better than a lot of teams last year. We had to pull that Super Bowl out of our ass, to be frankly honest with you. But Frank, we've been through this thing before with the Chiefs. We've seen that wasn't a stupid loss. I guess from the receivers' standpoint, it was stupid in my opinion from not simply catching the ball. But we've been through these losses in close games before, Frank. There's no reason to panic.
Oh, I totally agree with you. As long as you have 15 a quarterback, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. And Jones is coming back and Kelce will be back. So you'll be fine. The wide receivers will get squared away. They got a wake-up call. That might be the best thing that happened to them. Okay, is getting beat right out of the chute by a team like Detroit. Detroit's a good football team. It wasn't like they were the Indianapolis Colts or the Houston Texans, okay? But you're going to lose games like this. You can't carry that momentum and being hyped up Sunday after Sunday, game after game. And there's always that game between 2 games, There's that hidden, you throw some garbage team in there that's having a really tough season. They rise up and they beat you when you least expect something like that to happen. But I predict they'd go 12-5. I still think they'll win the AFC West. I didn't think they'd lose to Detroit, but I thought they were going to lose to somebody that wasn't very good. I thought they'd probably lose at least 1 game in the AFC West, and then they have, several of these other games, probably 1 game. Now they've lost it. I thought they might lose to the Packers on the road, but they've already lost the game to Detroit Lions at home. So I thought they'd be 12-5, give and take what that final game means to them. Might not mean a whole lot like it always does, but I think they're going to win the. I think they're going to win the AFC and be 12-5. AFC is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Eric Eager and I have the Detroit Lions being NFC champions, so I'm not alone in predicting the Lions to go to the Super
God.
Bowl.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Shaggy, take that hat off. You got your brains fried. What are you doing up there, man?
Eric Eager's with me. Eric Eager,
I know.
With me. He believes. Hey, specifically to Kadarius Toney, I got his jersey back here. Of course, I'm a big fan.
I see that.
But only thing that concerns me is his mental makeup. I mean, I know that they could have gotten DeAndre Hopkins if things fell into place in the spring, but as Noah alluded, NFL Network was saying they wanted Kadarius Toney to be the number 1 wide receiver going back to February after the Super Bowl. They wanted to be the number 1 wide receiver this year. We've seen great number 1 wide receivers the last 40 years with Stephon Page. We had J.J. Burton on here 4 weeks ago. We've seen guys throughout the throughout the Chiefs' tenure have the mental makeup to be a number one wide receiver. And with the way Kadarius Toney is on social media and overall, I'm beginning to doubt that he has the mental makeup to be a true number one wide receiver. What do you think, Frank?
Or the health?
Well, especially when he goes out there and does what he does on social media after, the disaster that he had. Okay, you just go, what in God's name are you doing? Did you forget what you just did? I don't get it. But that's sometimes those guys, they like to see the hits on social media. They like to see whatever they see, how many people are following him, the whole thing. But I don't think to me, no matter how good he gets, I don't think he is what you would consider a number one wide receiver. He may rise up to be number two, but I don't see him as a number one wide receiver. And that's what worries me about the whole room. So Sky Moore didn't impress us, but, Rashee Rice might be coming through here. Justin Watson might come through here. We'll just have to see what happens with the rest of those guys. Everybody's got to step up. You got the greatest quarterback that's played maybe ever when it really comes down to it. And you want to be there for him. You want to get his trust is the most important thing. When he sends you out and he calls the play, you've got to have his trust that you're going to be where you're supposed to be. And when you're there, the ball's coming, and you better catch it.
So, Frank, what was very intriguing to me watching Thursday night was the play of the running backs. I really didn't expect Clyde to get too much run there. I thought it would be a little more Pacheco and McKinnon, but it was so much Clyde on the football field. Was that something that you expected, or, I don't know what's going on there with Andy. I thought that we would go in like Pacheco is our guy. He showed that he's healthy. He's ready to go. We saw what McKinnon did last year. I thought it would be pretty much those two guys with Clyde kind of spelling them. But it was like Clyde was the first running back on the field, the first drive. So it was just very interesting to me what Andy was doing out there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I was talking to a couple guys, and it almost looked like they were showcasing him for some reason, All right, here's Clyde. You want him? You want Clyde? We got him. He's right here. We're going to show you what he can do. I thought more of it would be there'd be more Jarrett McKinnon and use him in the passing game since they were down a tight end in Travis Kelce. I know Noah Gray's fine tight end, and he probably will be a fine tight end. But we're going to be so spoiled when Travis Kelce leaves and the void that is going to create for this football team. But that's neither here nor there. I thought Jarrett McKinnon would be the guy. I thought he would have a big impact on the game, both running the football and in the short passing game for the Chiefs. Pacheco, why don't you run him on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1 and 4th and 2? He'll get you some yardage. I don't know about you guys, but it's great that he has that enthusiasm when he runs. He runs hard. I love it. I hate the way he gets up off the ground. Okay, don't ask me why. I'm not sure. I can't. I'm serious. I think he's going to go fight somebody. I think he's going to go punch somebody in the helmet. It's just crazy. The defenders look at him like, man, hey, save your energy, man. It's a long game. Relax. Settle down. But that is him, and he did a nice job last year. We'll see more of him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has never impressed me, so I'm not a big Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan. But that's just me.
Okay.
No, I think a lot of people in Kansas City kind of echo those sentiments, Frank. But we can't thank you enough for coming on with us. You're always welcome here, and like we said, you're a fellow ally. You've been initiated. But we've got to talk about your shows, Frank, because you're still out there.
Unlike Jack Harry, you're good.
Oh, my gosh, no. Hey, that show's no longer on the air. Take that down. Crunch Time's gone. Okay, that thing's gone. It's gone. Okay, here is the deal. This is our big deal. This is a podcast that my wife has been so passionate about for the past 5 years. All I want to do is play golf. And she goes, get your ass off the golf course and go do something. Okay. So she has always had this idea that everywhere we go, everybody we talk to, one of the things we always say, like you talk to a Tom Watson or a George Brett or, whoever else, and you just go, you guys can live anywhere in the world. Tom Watson, he can live in Scotland for free for the rest of his life. Okay. After winning 5 British Opens. But the deal is, you always ask them, why'd you stay in Kansas City? And every one of them, to a person, always said, there's just something about Kansas City. And that is the name of the podcast. It is not just sports people, although this week's drop was Kevin Harlan. Last week we had George Guastella, who's the president and CEO of Union Station. So, and I know I'm making a long story longer, but there's something, just something about, no, I got it wrong.
Something about
KansasCity.com, KC.com. Then if you just look on Spotify, YouTube, whatever, there's just something about Kansas City. It'll pop up there. So we have a lot of great people coming up, and we've had Bobby Bell on, and we've just done a lot of really neat things. Had some really great interviews. Got a lot in the can right now. Dayton Moore's coming up. Carl Peterson's coming up. So we have a lot of people coming up. So
That's cool. We had it scrolling there on the bottom. Something about KC.com. That's where you can go on the website, check it out, or type in "there's just something about Kansas City" on.
That's perfect.
And
you guys are great. Thanks so much for doing that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anytime.
You bet.
Joining us as always. We've got to make you a guest here, regular throughout the season, to check in how things are going on, see if the receivers can learn how to catch. Maybe they can use some stickers.
Just hey, call me anytime, guys. I love it. You guys are great.
Thank you, Frank.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank. You're a legend.
All right, gentlemen.
It's an honor. Yep. All right, guys. Right there, you see it. Frank Boal, we love to have him on each and every time we can get him on. Just a legend and icon.
Hell yeah.
Man.
That was cool. Heck yeah.
Where did Clint go? Clint disappeared like the wide receiver. There you go.
Oh, Michael actually said the receivers disappeared. I thought he was going to come up with something to say they were out there balling.
No, yeah, they played terribly, man. They have to take a big part of the blame, Some of it with Kadarius, I just think that they played him too many possessions. I think that Andy Reid, he wasn't ready to go. He missed the entire training camp. He wasn't on the team for a training camp last year, wasn't this year. Do you expect for him to show up and be the number one guy? Like, I thought he was just going to have small package plays, but to have him out there so much, I'm like, I wanted to see more Rashee Rice on the field, because that guy is a big body that fits the Juju Smith-Schuster role. So I was hoping that we saw more of him, but I guess they felt comfortable enough to put Tony on the field. And, other than if he just catches one of those footballs, he's win the game. And when
he just knocks the first one down to Brian Branch, just knock it down.
Yeah. And that's where I want to go off of. It's a completely different game, bro. If that pick six does not happen. Yeah. It's a completely turn of events. Maybe the Chiefs perhaps go up 17-7, or maybe they punt the ball and it's 14-7. But when you have a 14-point swing like that, it is a total momentum killer, a total momentum shifter, and it changed the complexity of the game because the Chiefs were about to go to work. This was after Patrick Mahomes had got those guys together at the end of the first half and was bang, 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 shoot them down, get the touchdown and score. And I felt like the Chiefs had a little momentum going on with that drive. The camera had just panned to Travis Kelce in the game. And then immediately after they pan to Travis Kelce and talk about him, Kadarius Toney does the Tyreek Hill special. Because Tyreek Hill did that 2 or 3 times in 2021. Yeah. But those things they're unacceptable. Point blank period, man. I'm tolerant of a lot of things on the football field, and especially if you're going full speed and you're trying with effort and energy. But when you have a blunder like that and catching a wide open pass, like it hits you right in the hands, there's no excuse, inexcusable for that. It shifted the entire game. But like I said, from my starting point, if those little things don't happen, like even with that, the Chiefs still withstood that storm, still withstood it, still had a chance past, the 2-minute warning or whatever, close to the 2-minute warning at the end of the game to still win the game. With that funky ass 4th down and 1 call that I don't, Michael, I don't understand that either. But with all that being said, man, a few things that change up during that game, like the pick six or Sky Moore or Kadarius catching one of those balls, is completely different, and the Chiefs win the game, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And I mean, there was Clint and I after the game. I think there's a little video here of just what we were kind of been saying about the receivers for years.
Okay, but you can't look, you can't get a dub for that because we won a Super Bowl last year. We won a Super Bowl last year in spite of y'all talking bad about the receivers. Okay, yes, you proved your point this year, but this year with me and Michael and I, we're not capping for these receivers this year. Right now, they haven't proven anything. So yeah, I mean, you're right now.
Sky Moore for 1,000 yards total.
I did say that. Yes, I did. I did say that.
And if not for the worst receiving performance, maybe by a skilled position player in recent memory, we would be talking a lot more about Sky Moore. But with that being said, because Sky Moore's still a little fresh in my mind, sometimes, guys, we have to know in life when we have to issue an apology. And I have one to issue to McCole Hardman, the Jet, who's currently a Jet. He had no targets, no receiving yards Monday night. But sometimes, guys, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
Oh my gosh, we're going all out tonight, man. Hey, as Tony Russell just said, Kadarius wasn't ready. Andy Reid, I dug the hits, Clint. That was good. I dug the hits. That was good. I love it. But as Tony Russell said, Kadarius wasn't ready, and Andy Reid even fell on the sword for Kadarius for that. He blamed himself. He's on his Zoom call yesterday. Andy Reid blamed himself for Kadarius being out there. He said, "Man, I rushed him. He wasn't ready, but I tried to get him out there." But then when Vahe Vagorian asked him the question about Kadarius Toney's online outburst to Giants fans, Andy Reid said, "This is the first I've heard of it." So we don't know if that's going to continue. We don't know when Andy Reid comes back tomorrow for his press conference if they're going to say, well, now that you had a chance to see Kadarius' Instagram and post to Giants fans, what do you think of it now? So I'm anxious to know what local media is going to ask him that, or if it's going to be asked because it's an issue now, like I brought up with Frank Boal. But specifically to McCole Hardman, yeah, I think we missed him. Clay Willer was sitting with me in the fourth quarter, and you know what he said to me? He said to me during the game, he said, I think we kind of miss Baby Cheetah getting them sweeps because Kadarius Toney, he'd look kind of slow, and I don't think he was ready. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was ready, but I mean, he was out there. The balls are right in his hands. It's very simple. Now, one of them I don't really blame him for because Richie James runs right in front of him as the ball's coming to him. Like they were just off timed, and he just ran in front of him anyway. And I thought the ball was going to hit Richie, but it got right past him, right behind his back, and Kadarius dropped that. But the other two, there's no excuse. Maybe you could say maybe a little bit of a poor throw on the last one, but that's a catch you still have to make, especially if the Chiefs are touting you as wide receiver one there. But you mentioned some blame there, Shane, and I'm going to this is kind of my list. I'm going to do blame and credit each week. This week it's blame. We're going to have a lot more credit than we do blame. But this is I blame you, and it obviously starts with Kadarius Toney and his awful performance. Then it goes to Brett Veach because he's trying to sell us these receivers, and we don't have a DK Metcalf and George Pickens because of Brett Veach. And then it goes to Sky Moore because he was right behind Kadarius Toney as the GOAT, the scapegoat of the game, because it didn't go well for him either, trying to catch the football out there. No receptions, no yards, no touchdowns. And then Andy Reid for the Blake Bell play on 3rd and 2, handing it off, a reverse to Rashee Rice going horizontal behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of blame to go around. Hopefully we don't have a lot this season. I don't think we will, especially with Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, but that's who I blame for this week 1 loss.
Hey, I got a question. Are you guys basketball fans at all?
Yeah.
So when you watch, let me think about a team, maybe like the Lakers, right? When you have no LeBron James or say no Anthony Davis in the game, it looks like a whole different team. Sometimes they struggle. The Chiefs were without their LeBron James of the receiving core, which is Travis Kelce. So it made everything like fall out of place, you know, because now with Travis Kelce back, the coverages look different for different receivers. So for guys who were going up against two guys, you know, a safety maybe sitting over the top, that's going to be gone. So I think that not having Travis Kelce as late as it happened, when it came to its injury, really affected the game plan, and that the guys just weren't prepared for it. And you kind of saw that. But for the Chiefs to only be a drop pass away, I don't see why everybody is in panic mode.
Because we're relying on a 34-year-old tight end and have no answer if he's out. So we have no answer. And this
34-year-old tight end, that's what you're reducing Travis Kelce to?
Well, that's just
he ain't even 34 yet.
He's getting older, and that's all we're relying on. If he goes down, basically it's not the 34. It's like you're relying on one player for your offensive skill positions.
Travis
and if
Kelce.
he goes down, like he did, Bill Barnwell says, what happens if Travis Kelce gets hurt or takes a major
What happens if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt? What happens if Josh Allen gets hurt? What happens if Stephon Diggs gets hurt?
Josh Allen's a disaster.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, all right, yeah, this is what you pay these other guys for. This is, and look, let's get this too. The game plan was installed.
Mm-hmm.
This happened on the last practice.
48 hours, yeah.
So these guys, these receivers, they like the game. We all know the game plan is centered around Travis Kelce. This offense is centered around him. So for those guys that have to practice these plays that they didn't know, probably that they hadn't been practicing all week, and now we got 48 hours and we have no more practices on the field. So all we have to rely on is film and our memory bank from training camp.
The ball's in their hands. They ran the play and the ball's in their hands.
I understand that. I understand. And nobody, look, I was the one that we're all going hard on the receivers. Here's the thing, though. Michael pointed out something earlier about the guys running into each other. Okay, like those things matter, dog. When you install a game plan and when you're trying to put plays in, and now you're trying to put something new in that y'all really haven't practiced all the way, like you can't really get in the lab with that. You know what I'm saying? With Travis Kelce's knee going out on so it's just the little things, man. It's those little things that really made a big impact on the Chiefs.
And can I want to give a shout out, because I have to the Detroit Lions, because last year the Lions were a team that pressed a lot. They played a lot of man-to-man and they pressed. But this game, I think they surprised Andy Reid and the Chiefs because they came out in a lot more zone than I think the Chiefs expected. And that's why I think their game plan ended up working out and helping them lead to a victory.
It's like you ever seen a dance routine where it looks just totally messed up live or whatever. It's like taking your best dancer out of a Michael Jackson choreography
Eddie Garcia.
And you got 2 days to practice these dances. You got 2 days, fam, to practice these new dances because our best dancer is out. It's hard to configure out, and I know these guys are professionals, and I'm not making I'm not making no excuses for nobody. But I'm just trying to point out, man, that in a National Football League, like I said to Frank Boal earlier, the margin for error is so small because especially week one, out of all the weeks, week one, everybody is close in this box. Everybody is. Everybody has confidence. Everybody has morale. Everybody thinks that, it's a new season. And why not us? This whole underdog attitude. So look, man, it's those little things, and it was very unfortunate for the contract and the hyper extension underneath. And after all of that, after the pick six, after all of that, the Chiefs were still in it despite all of that. That's just how I look at it, man.
Yeah, Brian, your points are valid, and Noah, your points are valid.
Contingencies.
But this was Sky Moore's game to show that he was the guy to replace Juju, regardless of the circumstances of when Kelce got hurt. We championed Patrick Mahomes for WASP. We championed Patrick Mahomes for what he did on 4th and 9 in 2018 against Baltimore when he rolled way out of the pocket and hit Tyreek Hill down the field. It's 4th and 25. Patrick Mahomes rolls all the way out to his left. He sets it up, throws clear across the field. Sky Moore has to catch that ball because we champion Mahomes for those moments. Sky Moore has raised the bar. This is what he did in the Super Bowl and what he did in the punt return in the AFC Championship game. If Sky Moore is going to be that guy to replace Juju, he has to make that catch.
I agree.
Kadarius Toney dropped them all, but Sky Moore had the most snaps of any of the wide receivers. His stat line sucked, and he dropped the ball during Patrick Mahomes' Herculean moment.
Hey,
I miss
Sky made a
McCole.
play.
I
Sky
miss
made a
McCole.
play. Sky made a play they just called holding, so it took away, the play that he did actually make.
These
Nah,
stats
he
can't
should
be
have. He
real.
should have came up with that. He
Yeah, but
should have
yeah,
came.
that was
That 4th and 25, it hit him in the hands, dog. Look,
Oh, yeah, that was tough.
and Shaggy, I'm glad you brought that up because that really pissed me off in that game.
Yes.
The pick six picks me off, but Sky Moore dropping that 4th and 25 that we see Patrick Mahomes, and we probably take it for granted now because we didn't see him pull tricks out of his sleeve so many times for over 6 years now. But like you said, Shaggy, like Sky Moore, excuse me, that's the expectation. If Patrick Mahomes can run around and free himself to out of these gargantuan defensive linemen that's trying to take his head off, the least you can do is catch the ball when it hits you in your hand on a 4th and 25. You can't even get that off of Madden this year, okay? And we almost got it off. If Sky Moore just opens his hands a little bit.
Well,
Yeah,
one
and I
more
like this comment here from Kevin. Looks like Noah's the crazy Ralph of Arrowhead Allies. If you've ever seen Friday the 13th.
Oh, I love it.
You're doomed. You're all doomed.
Hey, so I know we, everybody's been getting on the wide receivers, of course, and we should because they deserve a lot of the blame. But I don't know if you guys were, but I was very disappointed in the run game. I thought that we would be able to get a lot more out of the run game.
Play calling, man.
Yeah,
play
so
calling.
That's where the coaches have to say, hey, we don't have Travis Kelce. We can't just come out here and throw a whole bunch of times. Let's really make sure that we get this running game going. And they just couldn't do it. And I think that, this year especially, until the receivers emerge as better players and see who steps up, that we're going to need a lot more of the running game. And if we can't run the ball, even last year, that's what took us to that next level. We found Pacheco, and he stepped up, and he gave us a guy that can, give you 10, 12 carries and 80 yards. I think that if we don't have that earlier on in the season, that it can hurt the Chiefs.
Well, one more thing about the receivers, kind of one last joke to get in before we move on into some other topics. This is just Kadarius Toney watching film of himself of the game. And if those of you will get this reference, those of you out there watching that have ever seen the 1986 film, The Best of Times with Kurt Russell and Robin Williams, it's an underrated football movie. And this is Kadarius Toney watching himself. And hopefully he doesn't have to do this ever again.
But what a pass. 65 yards in the air at least. We still had a chance to beat Bakersfield. And somebody's open. Some third-string wide receiver. The ball's laid right in his hands. But that son of a bitch dropped it.
I remember that. I seen that when it came out.
You are so rude.
That was a good comparison. I forgot about that movie. That's what it was. That's what it felt like. Now that I've seen that highlight again, it brought back memories of the movie. That was a great comparison. But it goes back to the mental makeup of Kadarius Toney. Can he forget about it and mature and become a better?
And we expect him to. I expect him to. I do not expect this to be a problem like this ever again.
Right.
So let's get that out of the way. I
just wanted contingencies like, hey, Kelce is getting older, and that's kind of our only real true weapon. If he does go down, man, maybe we should have a DK Metcalf or a George Pickens or a DeAndre Hopkins, or maybe not trade away Tyreek Hill if we're just going to have McCole Hardman and Sky Moore. And I mean, all this talk about 7 receivers. We're so deep. We've got these guys in here. We've never had this guy. And your 2 best receivers are MVS and Justin Watson. Are you kidding me?
Justin Ross only played 5 snaps and was targeted once, and he caught it.
I trust him at this point. Yeah, I'd like to see more of him.
Put him in. Sky Moore will get another 95 snaps again.
No.
Hey, so remember how we felt against the Colts last year?
Pretty bad.
Oh, I still remember. I was there.
We won that episode.
Yeah.
It's just that in week 1, what I'm saying? That's the only difference. What was that last year, Clint?
Week 3.
It was
week 3.
It was week 3 in Indy.
And I hate that I'm going to give this guy a shout out, but shout out to former coach Todd Haley. He always said that the season is in certain parts. So you have the first 4 weeks, the next 4. So as long as the Chiefs, I feel, can get out of this first 4 games at least 2-2, I think that they're going to be able to make a run. Because have y'all looked at the schedule for what's like, especially with no Aaron Rodgers? Like the Chiefs can really make a run with the teams that they have to play.
Yeah. 100%.
And no McCole Hardman apparently either. We see Sky got 45 snaps here. most of the wide receivers did get the 1 carry for 4 yards. So at least he did something, whereas McCole sat on the bench watching, but he only got 1 total snap. That came on special teams.
Wow.
The
Bring
Goose,
back
unfortunately,
McCole.
they didn't lay the golden egg.
Bring back McCole. Bring
No.
back McCole.
And how about our entire wide receiver core versus one man? You know him best as Cheetah. 11 catches, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. And unfortunately, we didn't have as many catches, yards, or touchdowns in the entire 7-man. We love it. It's so deep wide receiving core. Oh,
We already know that Cheetah is special. I think by the time he retires,
He's the best.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
I think he's a
because
top
he's
5 of all time to me.
because he's that special.
Top
But
five?
yeah, he had a crazy game.
Yeah.
He blazed the Chargers, but that was a high scoring game. And him and Jalen Waddle are such a crazy duo. But
It
no,
is.
we should not panic. The Chiefs are going to figure it out. Now, if we come back next week and Sky still has 0 catches and 0 yards, and Kadarius is still looking like a bum, then we're going to really have a problem. But I don't see that.
I don't
think
expect that.
Yeah.
no, but somebody who is a bum and a team, they talk a lot of trash out there, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals, who did not fare any better. In fact, they fared a lot worse than we did out there. So let's take a look at Jamar Chase and how he probably needs to know his role and shut his mouth.
It's just the hooping and hollering about the Cleveland Browns. I was about to call them the Elves, but yeah.
It's frustrating because I called their ass elves and we just lost to some elves, so I'm pissed on my part. I'm pissed on that end.
They weren't blocking out there. Joe Burrow, 14 of 31 for 82 yards and no touchdowns on that, and had the worst pass block win rate, 30% of any team. And Juan Thornhill, our good friend and buddy, had some fun with it. The Cleveland Elves definitely showed up to play today. Man, Bengals 24-3. What do you make of that, Brian?
Whoever they got at left tackle was terrible.
Yeah, mystified.
Miles
Honestly,
Garrett.
I wasn't expecting that from Cincinnati. The least they could do was go in there and battle. But look, they start out slow. They started out slow last year against Pittsburgh. I think Burrow threw like 5 interceptions week 1. Pittsburgh took them to overtime and won the game. Miles Garrett and that Cleveland defense, they got some dogs over there. Okay, that team is not to be slept on. Cleveland, despite who they have at quarterback, Cleveland's going to be in the mix for a playoff spot. But it speaks to that offensive line, in my opinion, y'all. And I've said this, that to me, that has been the Bengals, not Achilles heel, because they're a pretty balanced team, but it's one of the weaker spots on their team. Yeah. Joe Burrow got hurt his rookie year because of that offensive line. I believe he tore his ACL on the sack. And Miles Garrett was practicing crossover moves before. But seriously, there's a video out there, him practicing crossover moves and him rushing Joe Burrow and getting a sack. I think that offensive line is a reason for concern for Cincinnati, especially now the funds are tied up. It's tied up a little bit in that defense now. They signed Logan to a deal. Yep. Burrow just got his money. Yep. Jamar Chase is going to get his money next year.
T. Higgins is gone.
They're already prophesizing T. Higgins getting up out of there. Yeah. So the Bengals going to have some issues coming up soon. But like I said, they'll get it together. Middle of the season, towards later on in the season, the Bengals will be in a hunt for, home advantage.
Yeah.
1 seed. They'll, more than likely they'll win the North. But man, look, like you said, Michael, who they have at left tackle. Hey, I was looking at Orlando Brown, dog. Hey, and it was Highway 75 over there in Ohio the other day. Miles Garrett was getting in his ass. A couple other guys was getting around Orlando Brown. Hey, man, I don't know about them Bengals this year, dog.
And another thing, when it comes to the AFC North, I think that it's much more competitive this year because you have the Cleveland Browns. If Deshaun Watson can turn it on somehow, some way, that with that talent there, the Browns can be a team that can, like you said, Brian, get into the playoff. The Ravens look like a team that everybody needs to be looking out for.
And now they're injured, though.
Yeah, they're injured.
Injuries on the back end of the defense. J.K. Dobbins, Achilles.
Yeah, but as long as they have Lamar and he can be healthy with Zay Flowers, who looks like a player. Hey, Clint, Noah, Brian, we were hoping that Zay dropped to us, but
he looked great.
Yeah, you guys met him. You guys had a chance to talk to Zay Flowers.
That's right.
Yeah, Zay was cool.
So you know what kind of kid he is. You can see that he's intelligent. He's ready to get out there playing. He made some plays his first game in the National Football League. So I'm excited to see what Zay Flowers can do. But I'm not too excited. So let's tame
right. Exactly.
He's in Baltimore now. We're probably going to run into him when it comes time for the playoffs.
I did run a poll, not about Zay Flowers, but this was a week ago. Does it at all bother you to see DK Metcalf and George Pickens dominate as the obvious choices in the draft when the Chiefs pick came up, but instead they chose McCole Hardman and Sky Moore? The choices are, yeah, it physically pains me, or no, McCole and Sky are best. And 52%.
How many times did you vote? How many times did you vote?
28.
Right.
But, that's okay. There's 28 votes. I voted 28 times. But other than that,
some really good receivers out there, and not just in Pickens and DK Metcalf, who had a good game for kind of a disappointing Seahawks team. And George Pickens and the Steelers were just hapless and getting beat down and pummeled by the San Francisco 49ers. But you saw it all over the place. We talked about the Dolphins. You saw it from even Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings, a guy that I'm really high on. There's young receiving talent all over the NFL. It just doesn't. None resides in Kansas City, which is unfortunate. But like you said, Michael Matthew, when you've got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you damn find a way. And we're gonna see it happen. I think that they will find a way. But I got to talk about the trio of the triangle of terror that I call the Jaguars receivers that we're going to be coming up against. We've seen them twice last year, and now Calvin Ridley's back, fresh off of a gambling suspension, and you've got Zay Jones. And Christian Kirk didn't even have a game. I think he had one catch for 9 yards. This is a group that can do some damage. The Chiefs secondary is going to be tested. They did a great job against the Lions for the most part, but this and then Michael, to your point, you had Trevor Lawrence as your NFL MVP this year, so that means the Chiefs could be up against it here, although they are a slight favorite on the road.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough, man. I think that Jacksonville is ready to take that next step. Trevor is ready to, say, hey, I know Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, if we still consider him up there after that terrible performance yesterday, but they're going to be tough, man. I think that Jacksonville is going to be once again one of the final four in the AFC, and possibly going to be in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. And they're going to be dangerous. So it's going to be fun. That's why this win for the Chiefs, if they can go and get it, will be so huge, because it's going to make a lot of fans shut up about the complaints, because it's like, man, they just beat a very tough Jacksonville team that's going to run away with the AFC South.
Hey, you add in Evan Ingram.
Yep.
And then Travis Etienne. Lord have mercy. We got a lot to deal with this week. This is and here's the number one thing that I'm concerned with. It's not even with the players on Jacksonville. It's not the coaching staff. It damn sure ain't that stadium that's not even full. It's the fact that this game is at 12 o'clock. I don't like that at all. Number one, Frank Boal brought up the point that, yes, Chiefs always perform terribly in Florida, even though we won Super Bowl 54 in Miami.
Yeah, we beat Jacksonville.
Traditionally, the Chiefs do struggle in Florida. Maybe that was a 90s, 2000s, 80s, 70s thing.
Yeah, we won there in 2013.
Yep. We did. Yeah, that was the first game in the Andy Reid era. And then you look back, and our first win in 2019 was on the road in Jacksonville. So maybe, and we won the Super Bowl that year. So maybe, it's a repeat this year. Our first win this year, and the first road win. And it was a 16-game season back then too. So 16-game season, our first road win, first win of the season at Jacksonville.
There you go.
Putting all that to the side, look, this is a talented Jacksonville offense. Their defense got some monsters too. This offense can hit you where you don't want to be hit. And last week against them Indianapolis Colts, the Jaguars mauled them down with Travis Etienne. He is going to be the key to that Jaguars offense this week. I'm telling you, that guy, not only can he dip you and shake you outside, but he can take a pounding inside too. He's good in between the tackles, or you want to stretch it, you want to toss it, whatever you want to do. Etienne can do that. So defense is going to have their hands full.
Yep.
This is the Jacksonville Jaguars home opener. They know how their season ended last year. Their season ended on the road in Kansas City to the Chiefs. And come on, let's be honest. They injured Patrick Mahomes. But, of course, the Chiefs won. But the Chiefs know what they can do. Andy Reid, as a Chiefs head coach, if my calculations are correct, is 2-0 in Jacksonville with those 2 wins. Granted, he didn't have much of an offense in 13. And in 2019, Sammy Watkins had 3 touchdown receptions and over 100 yards.
Tyreek got hurt.
Yes, because Tyreek Hill got hurt. So with those weapons that they have, this is going to be a dogfight that I think is going to go into overtime. I hope it doesn't, but I think it will. And I think it's going to be a tough game. ATN's like Brian said, is the difference, because you got to compare him to Pacheco. We love Pacheco, and we think, Noah and I had a chance to talk to him on Memorial Day weekend and interview him. And Pacheco's a great guy, and we think he's our future running back through this window of his NFL opportunity being a starting running back. But ETN's a freaking baller, so they got the edge in the running back situation. So Andy Reid, and with Chris Jones coming back, we don't know his snap count. We don't know Travis Kelce's snap count. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm feeling pretty good going into this game.
Yeah.
I absolutely am. I mean, what we already talked about, what Clint brought up, just Zay Jones could be out there killing us. And you're also worried about what Calvin Ridley did. And is Christian Kirk going to come on after kind of a underwhelming week 1 performance? And Brian mentioned Evan Ingram and then ETN, and we're forgetting Tank Bigsby, who's a rookie out there fighting for some time, and he's tough to bring down. I mean, they can hit you from every angle. So the Chiefs needed Chris Jones, and they're going to need their guys to show up from every angle. Secondary, linebackers, defensive ends. I like what I saw at FAU, Karlaftis, and we're going to need Chris Jones in the middle, because they are going to try and come right at us with that run game.
And, the Chiefs have to watch, one Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions on Monday. The other Josh Allen had 3 sacks against Indianapolis. So, we're going to really see what, our new tackles are truly about. But Patrick Mahomes is Jordan-like, Kobe-like. He has that type of mentality.
Michael?
I agree, Michael.
To go. Yeah, Pat's going to be ready to go. Travis Kelce is like, damn, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to show everybody I'm healthy. This is my first game of the year. Those guys are going to be fired up. So I think it's going to be a crazy, amazing game.
Yeah, and just a few awards here. We usually do them at the end of the season, but we've got some week 1 awards here. Let's start off with Tyreek Hill, NFL Jam, not NBA Jam. He's on fire.
Yes.
God,
I don't understand the reference.
Yeah. You know what? All of that is cute in September and October when that weather get iffy and they got to go up to Buffalo, or they got to go to New England and Foxborough,
or to Germany to play the Chiefs.
Or yeah, I'm just saying, man. If we saw this last year, man. Remember the 52 or 54 point explosion they had against Baltimore? Yeah. We saw what happened when the weather got chilly. Yeah, we saw what happened to the offense. So yeah, you can get all this cute stuff off right now.
There's a good award. We'll give them that. At least they win Noah's NFL Jam. He's on fire award.
Hey,
that's cute.
I chose Tyreek.
Oh yeah,
they've already won the award. And then Dumb and Dumber, the Katz brothers.
Yeah. I like that one.
Go for $32 million a year, $64 million over the next 2 years for Chris Jones. Unfortunately, they got some incentives, some that he's not going to hit, and probably still lose money with his fines and sitting out week 1. Things are not going so well for the Katz brothers and Chris Jones, but they are for the Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom, because we got our man back in the building.
Man, so many Italian jokes all week long. And I'm a big Rocky Balboa and Tony Danza fan, so I've taken offense to each and every one of them, and I'm keeping receipts.
Well, I'm also a fan of Rookie of the Year. This isn't really an award, but I just missed out on a time to play this video, so here it goes.
I made a funny.
Doc and Aaron's Achilles out of there in the Jets season. I picked them to win the AFC East, and it's done before it started. And so it looks like Clint, although they lost last night, I guess the Bills, maybe the Dolphins. I don't know who's winning that thing.
Dolphins.
That team looks like, Noah, you talked about it last week, a team that looks like they are regressing And Josh Allen's body language is terrible. It's like what he just looks like he needs a Xanax or something. Like there's something wrong with him on the sidelines. He just doesn't look right. And like you said, Brian Daboll, I think made a big difference for him there in Buffalo. And Noah, you talked about Leslie Frazier gone. I think the Buffalo defense played well, but they also were dealing with Zach Wilson, the MILF hunter, the entire game. I don't know what to make of it. Week 1 was drunk and all over the place, and I loved every second of it, except for last Thursday night.
Did you say that Josh Allen needs to start hanging out with Future?
Well, yeah, there you go.
That's what I heard.
I mean, yes.
Hey, my only question with him is that, are they not teaching him to get down? I just feel that he takes so many unnecessary hits. Like he jumped in the air one play for no reason. I'm like, man, they need to tell him, hey, we need you if we want to try to win a Super Bowl ever. So we need you to get down. But I argue with Bills fans all the time on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it. I say they need to figure out a run game, a consistent run game that can help him out, give Josh Allen some, play action and things like that. But it's like they can't figure out running the ball. Like James Cook gives you a couple nice runs, then the next 7 plays are passes. So until they figure out a run game, I just think that they're going to be a team that's very predictable. And as long as Josh Allen is taking hits, like they won't win like they expect to.
We've got a question here. We've kind of already gone over it, but I'm going to give this one to Shane. How do y'all feel about the Chris 1-year contract, though? We got that question a few times. I'm just pulling up this one. So I'll pull up this graphic.
A push.
Wow. I think he's going to have to fire his agent if he wants a real deal next spring. I think the Chiefs are, we're going to talk about this on our free agent freakout show, I'm sure. So we got 6 months to pontificate this, I guess,
wait.
Till we're blue in the face. But I think, I hope Tony Russell asked on the scroll here a minute ago, how do we think he's going to, if we think he's going to be mentally ready, I think he better be for the incentives he wants to achieve to get the contract and pay off the fines that he had accumulated by missing preseason training.
Lost over $3.5 million. So
so he's going to have to. Like I said, in 1990 when Albert Lewis held out, he came back game 2 and blocked a punt. And then he blocked a punt the next 2 games, so he blocked 3 punts in a row. So I'd like to see Chris Jones come in and start sacking people. I hope he's mentally ready. It's going to be hot. No training camp, no preseason, no game 1. So I hope Chris Jones is mentally ready. I think he will be, but it's going to come down to can he make plays, and I hope he can.
Yeah, how much of these incentives do we think he's actually going to hit? Like, he's just not going to hit many of them, I don't think. And maybe those top 3, I don't know if he can get 15 sacks again. And he's looking at like 3.25 million. Maybe he can hit, although that's all pro and Super Bowl appearance. So maybe 4.25, and he lost 3.5. Like, he's barely making any. This is just a joke what this is right now.
Right. He lost a lot of cash.
None of it makes sense. I guess we can just be pleased that it's gotten into the ring, and maybe we can consider this the Chris Jones farewell tour. Hopefully it's not like Aerosmith that's over before it starts, as Steven Tyler's already out of the game, baby.
Hey, Joe Tooney freed up $8.7 million. I was talking to Clay Windler about that before we did it on the show, and he said that's kind of high for him to do you think 8.7 is for Chris Jones, or do you think 8.7 is because they're going to make a deal for Dunlap?
Well, we had to get like under the cap by bringing Chris Jones back on the team because we were like 8 something over the cap. So this makes sense to just get under the cap and be compliant with the National Football League. So that Chris Jones.
So that move was just to get Chris Jones. All right. Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised Tony did that. I thought
are we all comfortable with just Jones walking into free agency? Because I don't think a franchise tag is going to happen. $32 million, or that's.
Oh yeah, they'll tag and trade him. They're not just
going to trade.
He's got to sign it.
But Brett Veach isn't going to want to say, okay, we'll take a compensatory 3rd-round draft pick to let him freaking walk away.
I think
it only makes sense to tag and trade him. I
don't know how you
do it.
I
can compromise on a long-term deal and Chris comes down to like 28 million and the Chiefs are even still willing to do that. That would mean he'd have to go off and have another great year. And
I think you tag and trade. I think if he has a great season and he's in the talk of defensive MVP and you just let him walk away, I think they're going to tag and trade him. But
I think they tag him for sure.
Yeah.
If he has another great year, I think that the Chiefs May even think about doing because he only asked for a 3-year deal. Am I right? It wasn't like he wanted 5 years.
2-year extension on this year, so it would have been 3 total. But yeah.
So I'm like, maybe, oh, you got it, Brian.
I was just gonna say, if the Chiefs get a favorable trade offer, from the Bears or something, you don't think Chris Jones signs off on that, Clint?
Yeah, I'm sure so. I mean, this is like a D Ford situation from 2018?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
this the Brett Veach special. Yes, sir. D Ford, Tyreek Hill. Yes.
Yeah.
That means some team's going to have to be willing to take it on. I mean, if he signs that franchise tag, that's going to be I think it's a 20% hike to what this deal currently is. That's $32 million to another team, correct? Mm-hmm. So, man, I don't know. Like, is Chris Jones? We've got
somebody's going to pay that.
This is his 8th season, and I think we have squeezed every bit of it. So to have another year, to have another chance at another Super Bowl with Chris Jones, I'm so grateful for it. After this, hey. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, I think you're right. So however that happens, you obviously don't want to just lose him walking into free agency because he's not going to get $32 million walking into free agency. I don't think.
Yes, what G Pick is saying. Listen, I thought about this, and I'm sure, and I'm sure that other people have what pontificate, is that the word over this? But so the Rams, I know they won yesterday and they were dominant over Seattle. But if they are out of the playoff picture for all intents and purposes by week 7, you don't think that there's a chance there's an Aaron Donald for Chris Jones situation going on? I don't know. I'm thinking outside of the box. I know, but look, if you're going to get something, I don't know.
I'm open.
I'm
open to everything. No, Brian, I'm open to kind of any and everything about it.
I just don't think this is on the table for the Chiefs and each. I think they want to try and win a Super Bowl with him this year. Figure all that stuff out after the season.
Right.
But it's also going to how's he looking week 8? Is he not looking great? Are we losing trade value if we wait till the end of the season? All this kind of stuff, minutia, we might say, because the Chiefs are great and they're just going to do what they do. But still, it matters. You want to get a good haul back for Chris Jones, the most you can get, because you're giving up a generational great player. So you want something great in return to replace him. And it's going to be impossible to replace him, but do the best you can, like you do with these trades, like a Tyreek Hill.
He just has to come out and ball, man. I don't think he's going to mess up the locker room or anything like that, because that's not who Chris Jones is. No. He just has to focus on his job and do what he does. And, if he can go out and get 10 to 12 sacks, all he's going to do is put the pressure on the Chiefs. I showed you guys once again who I am. Do you want to pay me? If not,
no, because your money is unreasonable.
Yeah. If you tag me, some team will probably not take that tag price, but they might want to come up with a short deal, 3-year deal to make him happy. But I do kind of feel
he missed comes off the tag. So that's $1.083 million or something like that. So that works against the tag for his.
Well, hear me a second. I just looked this up. Reggie White played 8 seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles before going to the Green Bay Packers in 1993 when he was 32 years old. So if Reggie White went to the Packers and his career still kept going, and if we're going to compare Chris Jones to Reggie White, he played 6 seasons with the Packers, and like I said, 8 seasons with the Eagles before the Packers, and he went to the Packers at the age of 32. I think there's a chance if Chris Jones has a phenomenal season that you could get some trade with that, especially if you hype him up with the comparison of when Reggie White went from Philadelphia to Green Bay.
Fair enough. One of my favorite defensive players of all time.
Put the Packers over the top as far as winning a Super Bowl. So
definitely.
Key stalwarts on the defensive side.
Guys, it is that time of night here on Arrowhead Allies. And thanks for sticking with us. Thanks to Frank Boal. Thanks to all of us together for the first time here in this young NFL season. It's great to have Brian B. Shining back amongst us. So with that being the case, Brian, I'm going to you. It's prediction time. Chiefs on the road at Jacksonville here at noon on Sunday, man. We're starting with you.
Boy, oh boy. I think Kelce will be back in a limited capacity. Chris Jones will be in the lineup as well. Not playing every snap on defense, but they'll come back and they'll make a difference. and you'll see why the Chiefs should have won last week. Barely escaped Jacksonville. I'm going to give it a 1-point victory. I'm going, let's go 20. It's Patrick Mahomes' birthday, too. Come on now. We got to win on Patrick Mahomes' 28th birthday. So 28 points.
Let's
for
go.
Patrick Mahomes' 28th birthday to 24 against the Jaguars. I'll say no. 27, 28-27 Chiefs win.
Shane, you got it going to overtime.
I got it going to overtime and going back and forth. And in overtime, the Jaguars will win the toss. But in overtime on 3rd and 10, Chris Jones will get the sack. The ball will fumble around behind the 10-yard line. Chris Jones will pick it up at the 10 and fall down at the 2. And Harrison Butker will kick a game-winning 20-yard field goal. And the Chiefs will be victorious in overtime 37-34 on Patrick Mahomes' 28th birthday. Way to remember that. Be shining.
You get no credit for that, Shane, unless Chris Jones specifically falls down at the 2. If he falls at the 3, it's good. You don't get the credit.
Gotcha.
Michael, what you got?
So just like Shane, I got it coming down to the end. It's not going to be overtime, but Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a pass to Justin Ross. Like DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to catch the hell. No, I'm joking. Man, this is going to be tough. But I just think that the Chiefs are going to be so fired up from, the media, fans, and, Chris Jones, he told somebody to shut up online. So he's going to be playing with some fire and anger that I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to take care of business on Patrick Mahomes' birthday. I'm going at 28-24. I think we're sleeping on this defense. I think this defense, especially with Chris Jones being back, is going to be scary the rest of the season. I didn't think it was going to be high scoring last week, and they only gave up 14 points versus the offense that was top 5 the year before. So 28-24, Chiefs take care of business. Sky Moore catches a touchdown, baby.
Okay, well, disregard that one. Anyway. Moving on, I guess I'll take it. We'll finish off with Clint. He's got something for us, I'm sure. But just to deal with a few of these comments, would you risk Travis Kelce coming back early for a win, seeing what happened with the Aaron Rodgers situation? Either he's ready or he's not. If he's not fully ready 100%, then maybe you don't. Or maybe, like Brian said, it's just a snap count kind of thing. Somebody else said, bring Justin Houston back. The man is a Carolina Panther. We shipped Emir Smith-Marset there, and that's where Justin Houston is. Maybe we can do a Chris Jones for Justin Houston. Straight up, Trey.
I told y'all that's who we should have kept on the wide receiver core. Smith-Marset.
Maybe.
He probably would have only got one target like Justin Ross.
Yeah, he's a preseason star.
We'll see.
I don't think Smith-Marset's changing life. I just think he's another body. 8 receivers that only go for 100 yards. Anyway, we're moving on. I've got 23-20 Jags in the 4th quarter, and then the Chiefs score at the end, 27-23. Chiefs and Mahomes get the victory.
Yeah, you talk about it being Patrick Mahomes' birthday. That is September 17th, right? That also is a significant day in Chiefs history, guys, because in 1995, September 17th, 1995, the Chiefs returned to pick 6 in overtime to beat the
James Hasty
Oakland Raiders. Yes, they had moved to Oakland in 1995. James Hasty. So I
that's the first year they moved back.
It was, yes. They were back in Oakland. I sense some similar fireworks here. I don't think it's going to go to overtime, though. I almost picked a tie like Shane had a year ago. I still think that's going to come down to haunt us one time, one of these seasons. But I got the Chiefs winning this one 30-19. You think about 2018 when the Jaguars came in, fresh off an AFC Championship game appearance, and the Chiefs took them apart at Arrowhead Stadium. I think the Chiefs are going to be ready, focused, all the things that maybe they weren't a week ago. Plus, my theory, this team's very good to maybe even better on the road in the Patrick Mahomes era. I got it 30-19, Chiefs winning and feeling a lot better about things. This time next week, we're all kind of doing a happy dance and doing a lot better graphics, a lot more fun graphics.
But Clint, you have Chris Jones recovering a fumble, and what yard line do you have him going down on?
I don't believe Chris Jones will register a stat. How about that?
Wow.
I'm just being wild. I think we'll give him 3 tackles and 1 tackle for loss.
He's got to block a punt.
Well, Albert Lewis. There you go. That's right, man. Guys, how much fun is it to be all back together? It's NFL season. We're on.
Yeah.
A crazy drunk NFL week 1 bleeds over into week 2. We're ready to roll. More to come. Arrowhead Allies are back. You got your money stays and plays with us every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Never forget it.
See you.